You haven't posted a photo of yourself in years, maybe ever, and it's not because you're ugly. It's not because your life is boring. It's not even because you don't care about social media. It's something else. Something you haven't fully named yet. This video is about that thing. Let's be clear about what we're talking about. Not the person who just forgot to post. Not the person who posted last Tuesday and will again next week. We're talking about the person who has a camera roll full of photos they never share. The person who shows up at events, smiles, lets someone take the picture, and then quietly hopes no one tags them. The person who watches other people post freely, casually, without a second thought, and genuinely cannot understand how they do it. That's who this is for. And if that's you, I want you to stay with me, because what's happening in your head is more specific than I'm shy or I'm private. There's actual psychology underneath it. And naming it might be the most useful thing you do today. Here's the first layer. When most people think about why they don't post photos, they say something like, "I just don't like how I look." And maybe that's true. But it's usually not the whole story, because here's what actually happens when you consider posting a photo. You don't just think about the photo. You think about every person who will see it. You imagine their reaction. You imagine the ones who say nothing. You imagine someone screenshotting it. You imagine looking at it yourself in 6 months and cringing. You're not afraid of a photo. You're afraid of being perceived. There's a psychological concept called the spotlight effect, the belief that other people are paying far more attention to you than they actually are. Most people experience it mildly. People who never post photos, they live inside it. Every photo feels like standing in the center of a room with a spotlight on you while everyone else has an opinion, even if no one actually says anything. The silence feels like judgment. The likes feel insufficient. The absence of likes feels like confirmation of something you already feared, so you opt out entirely, not because you're lazy, because opting out is the only way to stop the mental math. Here's where it gets more specific. A photo isn't just an image. A photo is a claim. When you post a photo, you are saying, "This is me. This is my life. This moment is worth showing." And for a lot of people who never post, that claim feels like a lie. Not because their life is bad, but because they have this persistent feeling that the version of themselves in a photo doesn't match the version they experience internally. You look at a photo of yourself and think, "That's not how I feel. That's not who I am. That person looks fine, looks happy, looks normal, and I know what's actually going on inside." Posting that photo feels like fraud. Psychologists call part of this self-discrepancy theory the gap between your actual self and your ideal self. When that gap feels massive, even a casual photo can trigger a wave of shame, because the photo captures the surface, and the surface feels like a performance. You haven't earned the right to perform, so you stay invisible. It feels more honest than showing something that doesn't feel true. There's another layer most people don't talk about: control. When you post a photo, you give up control of how you're seen. Someone can look at it and misread you. Someone can take it out of context. Someone who knew you at your worst can see it and form an opinion about your present. For people with any history of feeling misunderstood, and that's a lot of us, this is not a small thing. You've probably been in situations where you showed something real about yourself and it went badly. Maybe someone used it against you. Maybe you were laughed at. Maybe you were just met with silence when you needed something else. Your nervous system remembers that. So now, every time you think about putting yourself out there, even in something as small as a photo, your brain files it under dangerous. Not consciously, not dramatically. Just a quiet, firm refusal. Psychologists talk about this in terms of vulnerability and threat response. When being seen has historically felt unsafe, the brain learns to avoid visibility. It's not a weakness, it's an adaptation. It worked once, it's just still running the program. And the cruel irony is this: the more you protect yourself from being seen, the more disconnected you feel. And the more disconnected you feel, the less safe it feels to be seen. It's a loop and it tightens slowly. Here's the part that stings. You watch other people post, and part of you wants to, a real part of you, not to perform, not for validation. But because there's something that looks like a connection happening and you want it, you see someone post a messy, imperfect photo of themselves laughing, no filter, weird lighting, and people respond with warmth. And you think, why can't I do that? But when you try, when you actually hold the phone up and look at yourself, it doesn't feel the same as it looks when they do it. It feels forced. It feels like you're pretending to be the kind of person who posts photos. And you're convinced everyone will see through it. This is the comparison trap, but it's not the version where you compare your looks to someone else's looks. It's deeper than that. You're comparing your internal experience to their external presentation. And that's a comparison you will lose every single time, because you have access to all of your doubts, your self-awareness, your history, and none of theirs. They might be running the same internal loop. You'd never know, because they posted anyway. This part is important, not to guilt you, but to be honest. The invisibility has a cost. Some relationships stay surface level because people don't feel like they know you. Not because you're closed off in person, but because in the spaces where people form impressions, you're not there. You're a blank, and people fill blanks with assumptions. There are opportunities, professional, social, personal, that move toward visible people. Not because those people are better, but because visibility signals availability, openness, existence. And there's a version of yourself that never gets to exist publicly, a version that other people might have actually responded to with warmth, with recognition, with might too. That version stays locked in your camera roll, and underneath all of it, underneath the avoidance and the control and the identity confusion, there is often something quieter and more painful. The belief that you are not worth being seen, not a dramatic belief, not something you'd say out loud, just a low hum, a default setting that never got questioned. I'm fine staying in the background. I'm not really someone people need to see. That belief sounds like humility. It isn't. It's a shame that I learned to dress neatly. So what actually changes this? Not a confidence boost, not a good photo, not someone telling you you're beautiful. What changes is a slow, deliberate decision to tolerate being seen before you feel ready. Because readiness doesn't come first, it comes after. The people who post freely didn't start fearless. Some of them still aren't. They just decided at some point that the discomfort of being seen was worth the cost of staying invisible. That's the reframe. It's not post because you love how you look. It's post because staying hidden is no longer serving you. You don't have to start big. You don't have to post a full photo tomorrow. But notice the moments when you almost do, and instead of retreating, get curious about what exactly you're afraid of. What's the worst outcome? Does someone think less of you? Someone doesn't respond. You look at it later and wish you hadn't. Those things might happen. They've happened to everyone who has ever posted anything, and they survive it. Here's the truth about people who never post photos. They are no less vain than everyone else. They are not more private. They are not above it. They are scared. And that fear is specific, layered, and completely understandable given what they've been through. But fear that goes unchallenged becomes a boundary you didn't choose. It becomes a wall between you and the version of your life that's actually happening. The photos in your camera roll, the ones you took and never shared, are evidence that you are living a life worth documenting. You already know that, you just haven't decided it's safe enough to show anyone yet. Maybe it's time to ask yourself, what would I lose if I let one person see me? Not everyone, not the whole internet, one person. That might be where it starts. So here's what I want you to sit with. Is staying invisible actually protecting you, or is it just familiar? If this hits something real for you, there's more like this on the channel. Subscribe and I'll see you there.